So a client brought to me this corset top that she has bought to wear on her wedding day. And she bought it and it's just a little bit too small. So she wanted to know if I could put in a lace up so that she could wear it and be nice and comfortable. So I'm going to show you guys how to remove the zipper and transform this top into a lace-up back. You can use this technique in dresses or just with the corset itself. So we're going to go ahead and go through the steps so I can show you guys what it takes to remove this zipper and transform this into a lace-up top. First, I remove the zipper from the corset. I use this technique with a razor blade. This does take some time to really hack how to take a razor and cut out things quickly. I recommend, if you're not familiar with this technique, to just use a seam ripper. It takes a little bit longer, but if you're not familiar with the razor technique, it'd be best to use a seam ripper. And as you know, what you do to one side of a garment, you repeat to the other side. This particular zipper was a separating zipper, so I had to do one side and then the other side. This is what it looks like with the zipper removed. As you can see, it's a nice clean removal. I do like sometimes, if the zipper is salvageable, to salvage the zipper and save it for future projects. So this is what the corset top looks like when I have taken out the zipper, and as you can see, it's open and it's ready for me to go on to the next step. Now I'm going to take a strip of boning. This is about a 1/2 inch strip of boning that I've measured for both sides of the corset. As you can see, I wanted to measure just about 1/2 inches from the top and a 1/2 inch up from the bottom. If you see my previous corset video, you know that you always want to make sure you leave room to actually do the work. So from here, I'm going to show you guys what it should sort of look like when we're ready to put the boning inside the corset. I also create these little soft tabs that I apply to the tops and the bottoms of the boning, and this is just to keep the boning plastic from poking through the fabric, which it can do. That's just a way to keep them from poking through or creating any marks or anything from the other side of the fabric. So I just create these tabs. Over the last few years, I've accumulated a lot of information from running this business from my home. And when I first started out, what I found to be the most difficult, specific information for how to run my business. There was tons of information about how to run a business or maybe how to run a fashion design business. But I didn't really have a lot of source material that I run my dressmaking business and really figuring out how to scale that to be a consistent form of income. And I thought, you know what would be a great resource to my viewers and to anybody who is thinking or considering starting a business from their home? Is it possible? How do I do it? So Professional is a 62-page productivity and dressmaking business planner. Available for purchase in my Etsy shop. See link in the description. Use code SEWPRO for 20% off. So here you'll see me just showing you what it looks like when I add the top tacks to my boning. Now I'm going to show you how I create the loops for my lace up. I cut a piece of fabric that's similar in color, about 1.5 inches, and I take the cording that I have shown here. You can see the brand that I use. And as you can see here, I just wrap that fabric around the cording. I use my pins here. You can baste it if you want, but you can see that I have wrapped that fabric around. I make a little tack at the top just to secure the fabric top to the cording. That way it doesn't move when I'm going on to the next step. And I just pin it straight down before I take it to my sewing machine. Using a zipper foot, I go in and I stitch that fabric very close to the cording, making sure that I don't catch any of the cording in the stitch. I'm going to go in and cut off this excess fabric that I have. I'm going to cut it very close to the edge. Now I'm going to go in and just pull the fabric on both ends as well as pull the cording on the other side. And I'm just going to pull, and as you can see, I know it's hard to see, but you can see like it's turning inside out. So there's one side where there's a seam there, and then there's the cording at the tip. Once I've got that there, then I just go on my seam ripper and remove the tat that I made. Now we're going to create the markings for where to place the loop. I usually just take a water-soluble marker and I go in, and depending on how far apart I want the loops to be, that is where I do my marks. Sometimes it could be 1.5 inches, 2 inches, ½ inches. It really depends on how many loops you want to have and how you want to place those loops, so it's really up to you. I think here I actually was a little bit off in my markings. Once I started working on it, I realized I wanted them to sit a little differently, which is fine because you won't see any of these markings on the actual side. So here you can see that I have my markings here. For me, I use these thick pins to stick it through before I actually go in with a very thick needle and hand sew, because for me that just ensures that as I'm sewing it on my machine that the loops aren't going to move all over the place. So I'm going to go in and hand sew these loops in place before I take them to my sewing machine. And what we do to one side, we always want to make sure obviously we transfer over to the other side of the garment. Now I'm going to place that boning with the loops on it inside one side of the corset on the bottom and sew that into place straight down. So here you can see that I've basted the corset top clothes with the loops in place. The previous video was basically me machine sewing that seam that you can see right here. I then close the seams together, sandwiched in between the loops, and then I did a basting stitch on top of it, so I know that I have a guide now to when I'm going to do my final top stitch on the corset to close and secure everything together. And here are the final results. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Videos are uploaded weekly covering dressmaking, fashion, lectures, and more.